It's alright. Ooh, baby, it's alright. It's alright. It's alright now. This is Luther Vandross time. Hello, y'all. I'm a balladeer today. Yeah, I'm like Jerome. It's alright. It's alright. Ooh, baby, it's alright. It's alright. Now, if y'all look at the title of this, the black woman is God and the black man is Satan trope. I'm gonna keep it right there, like Luther said. And it's alright. Ooh, baby. So this is the thing. I got this comment earlier because I was gonna make an actual video about something else. And I was working out today, and I look at my phone, and I see this. And I see this comment to the video, to the live that I did yesterday. And this is what I was talking about. Some people might not understand, when I was saying, black men aren't looked at as black people. And as you can see, like, if y'all watching now, give them a thumbs up if you go over there. And Paris is doing that. Hero, she's doing a video, and I'm gonna talk about her title too, since that's in this today. What's up, Tahaka? Cooley, what's happening? So when I was listening, when I was reading this today, I responded to the brother, but this is what I mean by, black men are not black people anymore because we're viewed as villains. And if you read what he says, Bishop Timothy Hart. Now, I don't know if that's an actual person or a troll, but because the brother's in the pictures, I'm going to assume that's him. What's up, Archer? Demetrius, what's popping? So I'm going to assume that's him, right? Oh, man, cool. I'm glad, man. Thanks for listening to the last live talk. So if you read what he says, we must make a case for consistency and integrity. The standard of a real man is not displayed in us on a consistent basis. Black men today, for the most part, live for Punani and make no bones about his exploits. The prior generation did nothing to prepare their sons for leadership. I guess to say they made their money and did nothing to mentor their sons, is what it was saying. What's happening, L? Clinton, what's happening? So when a brother did that, it bothered me. It really bothered me. Because what he's saying is, it's everybody else's fault. I'm gonna see if I got my response. And this was the issue that I had. The narrative left grandfathers off the hook. And the women, it was an extra part of this. I see if it just got to stretch out because this wasn't the whole thing he wrote. Let me see if I could. That wasn't actually the whole thing. I don't know what the hell happened to it. But you know what? I'm gonna find it on my phone because this wasn't the whole thing. Hold on, just bear with me for a second, because I don't know why I won't actually go all the way right now. All right. They made their money and did nothing to mentor their sons for greatness, is the next part. Then they die and are left with their own devices while the women get trained and cared for by everyone, while the young men are being left behind. He changed his statement. That's why it's like that. That's why it's like that, because at first he was like, the women are taking care of everyone. And that's when I responded to him the way I did. That's why I was wondering what was going on. Okay. So this was part of the issue. So you got to excuse me. Travis, what's happening? Tyrone, what's popping? Uh-oh. Michael, what's happening? No, I'm on, I'm off today, actually. Papa, what's going on? Cut to the chase. What's happening? So I was wondering what was going on with that thing, so he changed it, and that's why I did that. So I'm about to get it, Dapper. So I'm looking at the guy's narrative and I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. You know, this is the black men are the devil trope. You know, we're Satan because now the women are taking care of everyone. And I'm like, this is the narrative that's the problem. So what you're telling me right now is, you know, we can do no right and everybody else could do no wrong. But that's not how it actually plays out. Roastmaster, what's going on? So the brother ticked me off with that. And then I was listening to Paris, Milan, and Paris put up the little thing about Kelis says she's not protecting black men anymore. And I got to say this to Paris. Harold, you know what I'm saying? But I got to start with the men because I wanted, there's a brother too in the chat. Y'all saw that. Y'all saw that. What's going on, Third Ward? So this idea that, you know, he put it on the men of the past, not teaching their sons. So here's the problem. You know what? Let me go back to that. Let me go back to that. Let me go back to that now. You know, just to keep it up there to see what people, if you come in, this is where you're going. You know, they didn't teach their sons for leadership. Okay. So here's the problem. So if all of these men are chasing punani and make no bones about it, but you didn't teach your son, so and their sons wasn't taught leadership, then what you're saying is those fathers that you're talking about were chasing punani. You're not putting that on but you're putting it on the sons. The fathers were out, quote unquote, chasing punani, but all of a sudden when the sons grow up, it's the sons' fault. That's very interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? No, Michael. No, it's just my day off, man. I get rotating days off. Dion, what's happening? But all right, what's going on? So now this is my issue. Because now it's like, oh, it's not the father's fault, it's the son's fault, and the women were victims to all of this. And I told him, man, you know, you letting the quote unquote grandfathers off the hook. And what was interesting to me about that was, like I said, he changed his comment because it wasn't initially what it is now. The bottom half was non-existent. So this is projection. And I got to talk about the projection part. You know, we're in a situation where black men, you get to project all of your ills on the world, of the world onto us. Because somehow, you know, and the black woman of God thing is kind of like, you know, the Hotep troll kind of word, but this just goes beyond black men and black women. But I'm gonna include the black women because of the Kelis thing that I just saw. So the thing about it is nobody takes into consideration what they do, the projection part. You know, black men are criminals, right? We're criminals. Thanks, Poke Dog. You know, black men are mean and evil, but black men in America and worldwide, you know, aren't going around killing other people indiscriminately in other countries and stealing their stuff. That's not what we're doing. Black men don't have criminal organizations funding their communities. I know people think, you know, oh, the drug dealers, the Crips and Bloods, they're not funding anything. Those black gangs are scavengers. That's what they are. Lionheart, what's happening? Geek Surgeon, what's popping? Emmanuel, what's going on? Project these hands. Just... KDR, what's happening? Intense, what's popping? So I'm sitting here like, so we're not, you know, we're looked at as killers and gangsters across the world when everybody else across the world is killers and gangsters. So that's very interesting, right? Latrell, what's happening? And it's my day off. I left the gym. We good. Rooming it. Thanks, fam. So, we're looked at as abusive to women. But, if you look at put all the men in the world together, are we looked at as more abusive than Caribbean black men? No. African black men? No. South American black men? No. And I'm just using black men as an example. Are we looked as more abusive than white guys? No. More abusive than Muslims? No. More abusive than Hispanics that are non-black? No. More abusive than Asians because Asian and Muslim, because of the culture depends on, we're not looked as more abusive than them. But guess what? It's that projection, right? So we got to be Satan, even though other people have a longer track record of doing what this was going on. Levi, what's happening? Paul, what's good? Our women to go to the Middle East, knowing if they get out of line, I'm gonna go to Dubai. But if I act up, I know these people gonna crack me upside my head. But I thought you didn't want to be oppressed. I thought you didn't want to feel oppressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just ridiculous. Oh, snap. The same thing as far as this projection that, we're oppressing our women. That's what I was talking about yesterday when I was looking at the Green Book. Black men have never stopped black women from starting businesses, going to school, starting a career. As a matter of fact, we've been more supportive of that than any other group of men. What's going on, Rainy Woman? Player May, what's happening? We've been more supportive of our women starting businesses and getting educations than other communities have. Even when we bring up the feminism argument, with black men and black women have said this. That was a conversation with white men and white women. That's their riff. That's not ours, because we didn't have the same issues. We didn't have the same riff like that. So to being oppressed and holding somebody back, that wasn't us doing that. But we got to go with this projection thing. We got to just go with this projection thing. So it's got to be our fault, right? I'm not buying that no more. I'm not letting it slide. I'm not gonna say I'm not buying it, but I'm tired of letting it slide. That's where I'm at. So more remote was popping. So the other thing is the protection thing. Because Paris is talking about this right now. And shout out to Paris. This is not nothing, Goshen in here, man. My bad, Goshen. I mean, man, I ain't even see you. Oh, shoot. What's up, Goshen? Andrew. My chat be jumping on me. I'm sorry, fam. My apologies. So there's this article, if y'all can see this part, Kelis says she's done protecting black men because she feel like she got robbed by Pharrell. And I've been hearing sisters talk about this a lot, about how they protect black men. And I saw the same thing a day or two ago. What's up, Jameson? I saw the same thing when they was talking about Terry Crews and Gabrielle Union, right? Anthony, what's good? And women are saying we protect black men. And Kelis is not the example of somebody who protects black men. This is one of the problems, right? And I'm going to just use them as an example. Was Kelis protecting black men when she was barring Naz from being at the birth of his son? Is that protecting black men? Was she protecting black men when she kept going back for more increases in the child support, but he still couldn't see his child? Is that protecting black men? When she got the money, when she got money, he started making business deals and getting more and richer. What's up, Dwayne? Andrew, what's popping, man? Spirit of Justice, what's going on? One of the Neptunes is yeah, I know. That's Chad. Man, Goshen, God dog it. Thank you, man. Thank you, Goshen. Salute to you, man. Thank you. This is one of the issues, right? A lie detector terms, that's a crock. What's up, Paul? Q, what's popping? So is that protecting black men when she gets on TV and says that she was abused and Naz was abusive, and it comes to find out that wasn't the case? Is that protecting black men? When she was it protecting black men when she was like she was gonna move to Colombia and basically skip the country with his child? Oh man, Fair, what's happening? Fair, what's popping? You know, yeah, I'm gonna get to that too, Roastmaster. Was that protecting black men? You get what I'm saying? Like what are we talking about here? You know, is it protecting black men? Every time that Naz makes money, she comes up in the news and say something else. And the other thing about it is, Kelis is one of those people. She ain't dealt with black men in probably over a decade. If I'm not mistaken, she's been married. She's been married for some years, or been with some guy for some years. Aisha, how you doing? You know, so here's the issue, right? So you protecting black men, but like as Roastmaster would say, you know, what is protecting black men is calling the cops on black men. Protecting black men is putting restraining order so they can't see their kids. Is protecting black men. When you have a son, you don't encourage your son to be to go to school and get an education and actually be self-sufficient. You encourage him to do sports and maybe art and hit the streets. Is that protecting black men? How you protecting them? You know, was it protecting black men? And when sister say that, like, because we could use a lot of examples, right? Was it protecting black men when the young men were committing to schools on TV and their mothers was walking off and dissing their choices? Is that protecting black men? You know, is Black Lives Matter protecting black men, saying we're marching for black men, but have a mission statement that has nothing to do with black men and it has something to do with everybody else? Is that protecting black men? You get what I'm saying? And when we're talking about black men, you know, I'm going even down to the boys. Is it protecting black men and make sure that the black boys are consistently uneducated? You consistently not care about their grades. Is that protecting black men? Is it protecting black men when you want a black man to make a certain amount of money so he can take care of you, but you're rebellious to the thought of having to do anything to take care of him? How is that protecting black men? You want this man's legacy and hard work and dedication and his life works for the exchange of your womb, but at the same time, you don't want to ever have his back. Is that protecting black men? Now, a guy with the Gabrielle Union situation was saying with Terry Crews that she felt like she was unprotected because she had his back and she believed him when he said what he said. But here was the issue that I even had with that. If you drop a link, I'd love to. Okay, Raining Woman, give me a few minutes because I actually had some talking points, but no problem. I'm gonna finish this Gabrielle Union part and I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna finish the Gabrielle Union part and then talk about the other things I was gonna talk about, so I could just put them on the table so we might get to them. Okay. But I will do that. Young Jay, what's happening? Third World, you know what it is. Poppy Pro Black, what's popping? Paul Johnson, what's going on? So was that protecting black men when was Gabrielle protecting black men when she was taking her stepson to the Pride Parade? Is that protecting black men? Is that protecting black men taking a quote unquote family picture with him in nails and a crop top? Is that when he's not even a teenager yet, so he can and he'd be considered a she, and y'all know he might grow out of that, but y'all keep encouraging that? Is that protecting black men? No, it's not. But the other thing about that was, even what Terry Crews said, he didn't understand. He couldn't talk about sexism, but he could talk about racism. He didn't experience that. That was his experience. Hers could have been completely different, which is very true. But when he said, you know, I asked my wife, and my wife said, that don't sound like a good look, basically, they skipped over that part. So he just followed what his wife said. And you want these guys to be nice little wife soldiers. He was a nice little wife soldier. Now y'all threw him under the bus for him just repeating what his wife thought. You know what I'm saying? But is that protecting black men? You didn't even bring that part up. You know? But I'm going to drop the link. This is for Raining Woman because she wanted to come on and speak on this. So I got you. Hold on. Now, Michael, what's happening? What's up, Natty John? What's happening? Felix, what's up? So the other thing I was going to talk about was, people being vindictive. Because you can be vindictive to the black men because the black men is looked at as Satan. You can be vindictive. You don't have to look at that. The other thing I was about to talk about was past that was we looked at black men as being deserving of all this negative treatment. The other thing I was going to talk about after that was you got to prove that you're worthy for some odd reason. You got to constantly prove that you're worthy because you're always viewed as Satan. The other thing past that I was going to talk about was we keep passing the buck. It's every generation of black man's fault because the generation of black men prior, quote unquote, failed, but they're not. But the boys are suffering from the sins of their father, quote unquote. But everybody likes taking it out on the sons. The other thing I was going to talk about after that was, you want these guys to constantly fight for demons. My bad. Hold up. Social Visual, what's happening? Von Wick, what's going on? Ema, what's up? DC, what's happening? Man, I was listening to Dr. Tia-san last night, Young Jay. If anybody doesn't know, Dr. Tia-san has a great channel where he talks to brothers, scholars and everything. It's a great channel to talk about men's and our interaction with America, basically, and interaction with the United States, just in general. But the eighth thing I was going to talk about was we're fighting for demons. People want us as black men to always fight. And the reason why I said the black man is Satan trope is because you only want Satan to fight all the time. God don't have to fight all the time. Remember, the story of God is, he's gonna get tired of the devil stuff, come down from heaven, spank that ass real quick, throw him in the dungeon for a millennia or something like that, and then we'd be cool, right? But that's not the thing. But if we looked at it as the devil, we looked at it as the person constantly fighting, because Satan is looked at a person who's constantly fighting and kicking up dust. So the other thing I was going to talk about after that was there's no self-reflection. Because if you look at black men as Satan and you look at yourself as God, you don't reflect on all of the evil things that you do. You get what I'm saying? And, after that, I was going to talk about the idea of no self-reflection. Rainy Woman, let me know if you got the link because I put it in the chat for you. Roastmaster, thanks, fam. I got you, man. Thank you, man. I'm speechless with this, man, because I'm just trying to, just really trying to just speak up for the brothers, and thank y'all. Just thank y'all. I heard you say God's a pimp, So, Rainy Woman, just let me know. Now I'll go back to the vindictive part then until she come around. Oh, come on, because she didn't come in the chat yet. This is the thing about being vindictive. When you look at a guy, when you look at using the protection thing with Gabrielle Union and Kelis and just the overall black man, black woman thing, fast roll, what's popping? The black woman, black man thing is when we say the black woman is God, she can be vindictive. God is a jealous God. God can be vengeful. But usually God is vengeful over somebody stepping over God's laws. T. Devereaux, what's popping? Who that? Right. So when you look at these guys, look at black men, people are vindictive towards us for things we didn't do. My mama got hurt. Okay, Rainy Woman is here. Hold on, Rainy. Hold on, sugar. Because I'm going to have to cut this thing off. Okay. Okay, you here. I hate. Just unmute yourself whenever you're ready. But that's part of the issue, fam. That's really part of the issue. I hear you.
Hello?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let me apologize in advance if you hear any echo coming from my office.
No
But
problem.
peace to you and peace to everyone in the chat room. Where do I begin with this? First of all, I think that there is a misconception with a lot of Black women, especially the modern Black woman and the younger generations, about what protection is. Let me do say that I do not believe in random protection. I love the men in my family and the men in my life too much to have to accidentally lose them to someone else's nonsense by randomly protecting someone. Because I'm gonna be real mad if any of mine don't come home. Real mad because somebody else's BS. I'm gonna be real mad.
Yeah.
Protection is twofold. Like you said, it's not, if you're sabotaging someone's character, if you are berating someone, if you're always trying to get something out of them for nothing, or you're just in it for you, it's always about your benefit, then that is not protecting. That is sabotaging. That is disparaging, that is disrespectful, and you can't be disrespectful and be protective at the same time. And there are different forms of protection, that the Black woman or that the woman would be offering the man, and the man versus the woman. I mean, I'm sure my man wouldn't expect me to, or my brothers or anyone wouldn't expect me to jump into a fight, just because someone said something out of the way to them. And then here I am jumping in here, trying to put my hands up.
Yeah, it's a problem. Because I mean, I don't think people taking, like, I got a female friend of mine. We went to dinner Saturday or Sunday. And it was me, her, and her boyfriend, right? And she was talking about like aggressive things. And me and him were laughing because I was like, you don't know what a liver punch feels like. And me and him are laughing because we know what getting hit in the liver feels like. She doesn't. So I was like, you're making assumptions on what you are physically and what you can do, but you don't know what it's like to actually get in those physical altercations and something happened to you. You don't know how to respond to that. It's all like a child says, I can do X, Y, and Z, but then when they actually get in that heated moment, they realize, oh, this ain't like my imagination thought it was going to be. And the reason I'm saying that is because when you were just talking about protection, sisters don't take into consideration, what is that movie that came out? Queen and Slim, right? I didn't watch the movie, but here's the if a Black man steps in front of a Black woman in front of a cop, he's probably going to get shot or he's going to get arrested. If a Black woman stands in front of a Black man, she might fight the police, but they just going to run her off or whatever. But she's not really going to get shot. So she even in the same type of interaction, she knows she's not going to get the same type of response. So it's like, you think you can't protect me when you know all you're doing is getting in the way, because if I reverse this, it'll be a shootout. And the only reason I can't get in the shootout is because you're close to me. You might get shot too.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So
absolutely. And to add to that, I think that women put too much value on trying to instigate situations or trying to encourage our men to get involved in altercations rather than using their ability to de-escalate a situation, which is a lot more powerful than seeing your man get involved into an altercation that could end in someone being hurt, someone being killed or someone being locked up, and or all of the above.
Right. Like, but let me because I was saying in the chat that I had some other things I was talking about, right? Because this is not just for quote unquote black women, but it is also because of that. I saw that Kelis thing because I started getting on that older guy, that the reverend talking about the men, and it's like you're letting old men off the hook, you're letting the women off the hook, but you're putting this all on the sons of the men that were gone. That's interesting to me, you know. But the thing about it is, what I was talking about before you got on was when people think, the black woman is God and the black man is Satan, that kind of trope, you can be vindictive to Satan and think it's okay. Even if, the person is Satan in your mind, they're not really Satan. They're just who you deem as the devil. And what I mean by that is, thanks, Ebony, and thanks, G Star. What I mean by that is, black men are always looked at the villain as the villain. So this guy could hurt you. He could cheat on you. He could beat you. He could use you. He could manipulate you. He could molest your kids. So there's always this guard up and this wall up. So you can always be vindictive until this guy does all of these efforts to bring your guard down. But you think being vindictive to him doesn't count, and it does. So that's where I was going. What you think?
You are 100% correct. And if a woman feels like the man, this is what all that the man is going to do, this is all he's good for, and so her only response to that is to be, like you said, is to be contrary or to be vindictive or to, I gotta get him before he gets me. That just says she's not ready for the relationship, and vice versa. I mean, that's a horrible. You can't try to defeat Satan and become Satan at the same time.
Say that last part. You can't be what?
You can't try to defeat Satan and become Satan at the same time.
I'm very glad you said that, because one of the issues about this that I didn't bring up yet because I didn't get there, is when people talk about attraction, and I don't like to say this that much, but I have to. On average, our women are attracted to guys who are dysfunctional and degenerate. So they are a personification of what you would consider probably a bad man or evil man. It's not just our women, but the bad boy mentality. So you can't how can you see yourself as a god and angelic and innocent, but you're attracted to guys who are not innocent? You get what I'm saying? And you would,
or it's a reflection of herself.
right, but if you can't see that as a reflection of yourself, because you're looking at the guys like, well, when these guys, when it comes to morality, I think in general women look at themselves as more moral and ethical than men, without taking into consideration all of the immoral and unethical things that they do. And I'm not talking about sex, doing things sexually. I'm just talking about, like, when women lie, it's okay. When women steal, it's not looked at as anything. If a woman can kill and say she was abused in the past, like, a lot of times women suffer from affluenza themselves when dealing with men. Now, when dealing with women, it's different, but when dealing with men, it's like everything goes.
It's a double standard delusion.
Now, you know what? I'm gonna change that for a second, because normally, I talk for the men in a sense. Do you think you can help me fish out the logic of this from a female point of view? Because I was about to talk about having to do all this stuff to deserve. Certain women want guys to go the extra mile. Is there an understanding of when that guy went the extra mile? Like he's beyond a mile, not miles, or 10 miles now?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Oh my gosh. When you're dealing with individuals who have a sense of entitlement, number one, and then number two, who will constantly move the goalposts based upon either their feelings or based upon the comparisons to someone else, then no, because a lot of it becomes a chase, a constant chase of a carrot in fantasy world. And it's a lot of it definitely in dealing with someone that has a very immature mindset. And it's ironic that we have this conversation now because I was speaking to a god sister of mine a couple of hours ago. Newly married, newlywed, just turned 30 years old. She married a man, 38 years old. They're renting a house and everything right now. Neither one of them has children. And so I was talking to her about her finances, about their financial situation. I was probing, being nosy. I was definitely being nosy. But I was being nosy because I love them both and because I see them as having potential of being in a much better position with the right guidance, the right advice 10 years from now if they have someone imparting these kind of things in them now. So I'm poking around. I'm being all kinds of nosy. And one of the things that she said to me is that she loves dating her husband and she tries to keep things fresh. Now remember, they're newlyweds. So she keeps trying to keep things fresh because she gets bored easily. And I immediately addressed that in our conversation. Because I'm like, one of the things I told her is that you're not a child. You are a woman. It's a lot of responsibility to have someone as your audience all the time. And you have a lot of things that you can be working on and that you can be doing. So instead of trying to be entertained, because that will get old eventually, and in some cases sooner than later, but even if it's later down the road, it's still a pain in the butt, and it is still a real earthquaking moment when someone is tired of trying to entertain you.
Let me ask this question about that. Do these women understand that he might get tired of entertaining you? That's a job in itself after work, because I know women say, they have to do so much. If they're with a man, they got to go to work and then come home and work again. Do they realize guys are like, you want me to entertain you too?
Right. Exactly. I don't think they realize that. I don't think they really realize that, which is why with my god sister, I had to go ahead and address that with her because I don't want her to begin to be a pain in the butt and try to use her immaturity or try to use anything as an excuse. And ignorance definitely cannot be one. And no one can be around me and maintain ignorance as long as information is available. So I addressed that with her, and I'll address that with anybody. So to be honest, quite frankly, I don't. I think a lot of females think that marriage and dating is just all about entertainment. It's all about fun. It's all about what we can get, and it's all about just it's rainbows. It's rainbows and unicorns. It's butterflies. It's all of that. It's not anything about compromise. It's not maturity. It's not work. It's none of those things. And I think a great part of that too is looking at media looking at what you see on television, or when you're out and about and you see couples having fun and laughing, and you just think that that's just what it is, and you don't get to see all the stuff behind the scenes. So I don't think so, and I'm here to be one of the ones to help mold them into the reality.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna use this through the title. Because one of the things I think about is when you view yourself as a god and you view somebody as Satan, or you view, in other words, you view yourself as above and somebody else is below. There's nothing that they can ever do to get on your same level. So you're coming from a point of you'll never respect that person or look at that person as an equal or even look at that person as somebody to revere. So I think it's difficult when we get into these discussions and conversations that I think sometimes on a just human respect level, our women are so far gone as thinking that they're so much above our men that they don't even understand that the disrespect that they're giving out. I think they understand it, but the thing about even using Satan as a reference, Satan don't want to go to heaven. He left. He got kicked out. He don't want to go back. He wants to tear the sucker up. So in some ways, I think, because when you're talking about the entertainment and the marriage part and the getting bored part, the irony of that I'm tying in is this. Normally, it was a wife's job to figure out the entertaining things and the things to break the monotony and boredom, because the husband was providing so much that he was not planning on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in a situation where women want a traditional man to provide. She wants to be non-traditional, and she can be a homemaker or she could go to work. But as far as providing the quote unquote entertainment or keeping a relation or the seduction or not necessarily the romance. Men are in charge of romance per se, but the seduction and the entertainment part, that was more so women, because they were saying what they wanted to do. They weren't looking for the men to figure out how to entertain them on a regular basis.
I agree. I agree. So, and that's why I was addressing that with her. And it's not the first time I've addressed something similar. So I'm here to keep that going. I'm here to keep these reminders and keep these coaching and everything going, because even with wanting to start a family, and I'm talking to her about their finances, I'm like, you have no idea the power that you have in front of you to be able to live a life that is debt free, and bringing a child to actually try to control this dynamic and rearing your child in an environment where you're not stressing each other out behind finances and stressing him out. You're going to be provided for, but stressing your man out, him having to work 80 plus hours a week just to make sure that everything's taken care of and to make sure that your emergencies are in preparation for that. And so these are a lot of things that people just don't really take in consideration. And there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to have either. But I am willing to have these conversations. Matter of fact, I make us have these conversations.
This is going to get interesting because, like, I watch a lot of nuance and I pay attention to detail. I don't, I talk a lot on this, but normally I'm either joking, I'm not doing something serious. But I look on social media and I see young Black women, grown Black women, and older Black women, and it's like the mindset is like in the metaphysical in a sense. And it cracks me up when I see women, they're walking and it's like, I'm powerful because I'm walking and I'm turning and spinning. And I'm thinking to myself, you actually think this means something? There's nothing wrong with walking with confidence. There's nothing wrong with being confident, but to think that your pure existence, is more than somebody's actual efforts is a bit over the top to me. You know, the fact that, you know, I could twirl my hair and that's just as much as a guy working 10 hours. That's a problem.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that's just wasteless vanity.
yeah, that like to me, I'm looking at it like, because there's so many women in that I'm sitting in a chair, I'm standing up, you know, like it's kind of like, because I see men have those ways where you're speaking to a guy and then you move your neck like, yeah, and I said, and guys like that actually meant something extra. Like all of these mannerisms don't actually mean anything as far as work, as far as when you're dealing with men. Like with women, that's probably a different dynamic. But thinking that this metaphysical stuff means you're God, while this guy's physical labor means he's your servant. It's kind of interesting because if you view yourself as above or godly, you're actually the provider. See, God provides, not Satan.
Facts.
So when you think, you know, my walk and my spin and my bat and my eyes is my provision and my words, you know, it's a little bit too much delusion and arrogance, you know, because the word, you know, they'll say Jesus is the word made flesh. So women are talking about, you know, we're creators, and I understand that as far as, you know, we are the givers of life, but you got to be impregnated by a man. You don't just wind up, you know, walking around and dropping off babies like you created them on your own. That just, things work together, you know, they're intertwined, they're not separate. But
I agree.
yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks. The reason I say that, and I'm gonna make it very quick, is because once you view your words, your walk, your talk, your mannerisms as actual efforts, you wind up devaluing actual work. And all the work that these guys do is always never good enough because of this constant goalpost movement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm with you, and you're right. And you're right. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, hold up. So as the chat moving, catching up, I'm trying to pay attention to everything at the same time. So you got to excuse me. So because I was looking at it, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was the fighting part, and me and BMT did a little the role play about, you know, father and son and type of fighting, but that always comes up, you know, fight for me, you know, fight for your family, fight for your kids, and I'm like, you know, these guys are viewed as, you can't tell somebody to constantly fight for something and also say that they're toxic.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, that's a problem.
Yeah,
So
that's a huge problem.
so now it's like, okay, and that's why I was thinking about the Kelis thing, because, you know, somebody that problematic thinks she's protecting somebody. She gets into it with everybody, but she's protecting somebody. That to me, that's
No,
like, okay, tripping.
if you have I'll say this, you know, if you have how old she is, if you have a female that's always getting into a problem, she's always getting into an issue, that's not a female that you want to be with. As a man, that's not a female that you want to be with, because number one, she doesn't care enough about herself to not find out why she's always getting into something. Because if she's always getting into something, she is the key factor, right? She is the main factor in all of the situations. So it has to be something about her that she's always getting into an issue. And if she's always getting into an issue, then she is chaos. And if you have a man that already has, say, some anger issues, or already have some kind of insecurity issues, because we're not going to say that men don't. You don't need to be with someone that's going to magnify that. You don't need to be with someone that's going to bring that out, you know, even more, instead of balance it. You know, I mean, and that just goes back to being able to have someone to, one, de-escalate a situation, two, remove himself from a situation and be willing, and number three, be able to use conflict resolution skills.
You know, it was interesting. I was going to actually do a live today on Mr. Nice Guy versus the Bad Boy, right? And I'm gonna try to be a little bit more balanced and say this, because I started this talking about an older man talking about this, because some of our black men view us as Satan too. And the irony of that projection is we got men viewing black men as demonic type creatures because of their own checkered past. You know, when I was younger, the idea, when I was younger, I was a womanizer. When I was younger, I was in the streets. When I was younger, you know, I was a screw up. And because I was like that when I was younger and I turned myself around, all these men, look at how all of these men act. Look at them. And it's like, no. You see how all these guys screw up? No, you see yourself in everybody that's screwed up, but you don't see yourself in all the guys that were righteous. So now you put your all your devilish ways on the other brothers. And now add that with women, because the very type of man who would say the men are like this is the very type of man that was, quote unquote, breaking that same woman's heart who agrees. Now he's just cleaned up. And I see this a lot with men, because right now one of the problems I have watching TV, and I don't even watch TV like that, but watching social media, is a bunch of these grown men who have daughters, who have all of this stuff to say about men. But when you look at their past, the man that they're talking about is themselves. It ain't the men that they're talking about. So now it's like, oh, you know, when you was younger, you was a cheater. What they got to do with everybody else? When you was young, you was a thief. What they got to do with everybody else? I don't want my daughter to be around men like that. Well, why the hell your daughter around you? You. So, you know, that's why I say I'm because some of us see, you know, us as the personification of the evil that we don't want. And we're cool because, you know, the sins of the father, we're cool when the sins of the fathers fall on the son, but we're not cool when the sins of the fathers fall on the daughter.
Facts.
But tell me what you think.
Hey, I'm with you when you're right. If at any point I disagree, I feel comfortable in being able to say that I can disagree with you respectfully, and we can hash it out. I felt pretty confident in saying that, so I'm with you when you're right, and you haven't lied yet.
You know what? Well, I'm gonna switch this up, and I'm gonna try to represent what's wrong. That way, we can have this discussion that way too. You know, maybe, just maybe, just because these men weren't taught to be men, they don't have the right to have a time period to learn it. They should already know it. Maybe they just need to be good enough for the women, just because, you know, the women deserve it. And these guys are just, nobody cares if they weren't taught to be men. Nobody cares their fathers weren't around. That's their problem.
Hell no. No, man, listen, as one of the things about being human beings and being made in God's images is the ability to always improve and the ability to always learn. So even what may not have been available to you within your own family construct or within your own environment growing up, I don't believe in that being an excuse for any man or woman. I believe to use that as an excuse is lazy.
But, well, okay. maybe it's not an excuse because they're men. Men are supposed to overcome adversity no matter how high, no matter who, even if they were born into it. You know, maybe these black men are learning how to be men, you know, even though the black men that preceded them, if they didn't inherit any money from their fathers or their uncles, if they didn't inherit a business, if their fathers and uncles never taught them any skills, it's as a man, they should have went out into the world and figured it out on their own. And you know, you're grown at 18 and you're a man at 21. So by 21, you should have it all together because the girls are getting an education. They're educated. Just because people spend more time making sure they're educated doesn't mean the boys, when they're the same age, can't just go off and teach themselves. They can't push themselves. How come they can't push themselves as preteens, teenagers, and young men? How come they can't figure out their plan of life before they get to college? How come they can't fill out their own financial aid slips? They're men, aren't they?
No, man, they're men, but they're not the all knowing. They're men, but they're not God. You know, they're not without fault. They're not without obstacles. I mean, no. And everyone's journey is completely different. So, Lord, it may take one man. Let's give two individuals the exact same circumstances, right? They both had the same kind of fathers in the home. Let's put both fathers in the home, and both fathers had the same amount of knowledge and the same amount of ignorance, and both fathers um, didn't teach them the same skills like they all started out in the same place, right? And then let's say that at the time when they turn 14, let's say they go to the same school, like nothing is different. They go to the same school and everything. Then they learn about the ability to build a car. Not work on a car, but to actually build a car. Well, it may take one of these guys a longer time to catch on to the basics of putting a car together than the other individual. But if they finish at the same time, or if they both learn it and say they have to do this by the time that they're 18, and they start at 14, and one guy actually finishes at 16 years old. Well, just because one guy took until he was 18 doesn't make him any less than the individual that finished at 16. And if one guy has to go back and repeat it, it doesn't make him any less than the one that didn't have to repeat it. But it's only fair to look at each one as an individual and allow them both that space. I'm just saying, don't allow it to be an excuse. Like we just don't try.
Look, I'm trying to be the antithesis right now, y'all. So just bear with me, because I don't even want to say some of this stuff really, but I'm like, so why not try? I mean, you have to show us, you have to prove to us black men, you have to prove that you're a man even as a boy. You have to be a man child. See, God blessed the child who got his own, even though the family blesses the girls to get their own. So they take care of the girls, but for me to be blessed, I got to do it on my own. God don't, you know, my father and my mother and my uncles and my aunts and my cousins, they want to see me go get it in the world. They don't want to empower me and help me go get it. They're not taking, and I'm about to sound so petty. I got to change tune right quick. If you go on social media, and before I say this, because I don't want to make this a diss, if you go on social media, the great salute to Kobe is all these fathers with their daughters. It's a great salute. It's a great salute, in my opinion. But how often do you see the pictures with the fathers and the sons, or the mothers and the sons, for that matter? and putting their sons on that level, or treating their sons like they're gonna make it. Because I was listening to a video before I did this of Kobe actually talking about, at the most pivotal point when he was young, his father said, if you score 0 points, if you score 60 points, I'm gonna love you the same. And that's what pushed him to say, I'll try as hard as I can and I'll fail as many times as I want, because my father's never gonna love me any less because of it. That was one of his pivotal moments that he said. But when you get out, you're not seeing pictures of people loving their son. So, and the idea that the son doesn't need it. He has to earn it. He doesn't deserve it. It's very interesting to me. Because
Woo!
now go ahead.
You have laid a very you've laid a very heavy one on me with that one. And from what I can see, from what I have seen, as far as on a large scale, I can say that I have not seen that, especially when it comes to media. And in the case where I can say, well, that's not my experience with my family and things like that. I even know that even that is on a much smaller scale in comparison to everything else, to where it might as well not even be said. So you got me. That's a heavy one. That's a heavy one, Laura.
Like I have conversations, and I was talking to a brother last night, or I was talking to sisters, one or the other, and we was just talking about parents and fathers, and somehow 50 Cent came up, and I said I think him and his actual oldest son are probably getting on better terms now. And it was like, why? I said, because you don't see him in social media talking crazy to his dad no more. You don't see him on, I haven't heard anything about him on Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram talking crazy about his dad no more. And I guess he's out on the world on his own, and he's seeing it ain't what it was. And I think about that because when I think about sons and mothers bonding, or mothers and daughters bonding, ironically, I think a lot of times they bond over the hatred of their father. They're not bonding or either the hatred of the father or the hatred of men. And I think about that because when you look at all the prominent men, and we like to use figures as black men, first and foremost, Magic Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Learned his business acumen from his father. People forget that. Michael Jordan got his work ethic from his father. Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, he said, he got his competitive side from his mother, but he got all his skills from his father. When people think about Floyd Mayweather, he's a second generation fighter. His father was a fighter. When I think about all of these, when I start thinking about the like Martin Luther King, his father was a reverend. That put him in school. When I think about stuff like that, I think about how guys, passed the baton to the younger generation and they moved on. I think about how these older men become mentors. They used to become mentors and coaches, not just in sports, but in life.
Mm-hmm.
And part of they wanted these guys to be men. And what's up, everybody? I haven't said what's up to y'all in a while, so I'm sorry. And they wanted they wanted these boys to grow up and be men. And ironically, I always thought about it. They wanted these guys to be men because they can fend for themselves, but they also wanted them to be men so they could take care of the women in our community. But the problem now is that's kind of still in us. But I haven't, it's changed. The women aren't being raised to take care of their men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that's definitely a huge problem because first of all, I have to go back and I have to allow my thought to really grasp what you said about women, mothers and daughters bonding, kind of like trauma bonding over the hatred of the father. Man, that's a different conversation all by itself. Man, that's deep, Lord. That's, man, or the hatred of men. Period. I mean, that's definitely heavy. And when it comes to, so I'm just going to bookmark that. Okay, I would like to bookmark that.
The only reason I say that is because I have women in my life, and some women that I've known for years, and I've had these conversations with them where there are women who have issues with men that are very valid, very valid,
right.
Traumas, rape, molestation, guys stole from them, guys beat them, that type of thing.
Right.
And there are women that I know who have had nothing but good experiences with men. And when I say men, I'm talking black men. Good experiences with black men. They have the same amount of vitriol for black men as the women that got traumatized. And sometimes the women that got traumatized met good men in their lives, and that changed that dynamic. But the women who they just have that vitriol, they always they don't even have they have that vitriol from a friend through a friend's experience, not actual their experience. And salute to Dr. Tia San Johnson. I just gotta say that. How you doing? And salute to you.
Salute. I've heard a lot about you. Salute. You know, Laura, when it comes to that statement by itself about the women who only have this vitriol because of their relationship with other women, I think that unfortunately is females not being strong-willed enough to separate themselves from those that they can't relate to and should not relate to. And because I don't know if you're aware, but I'll be 50 years old in May.
Cool.
And when I was in my 20s, I was around some dysfunctional groups of people. And I realized that, and this was after I had gone into the military and everything, so I realized that some of the relationships that I saw building and a lot of dysfunction that I was seeing just just that it was the norm. But it wasn't anything that I wanted. It wasn't anything that I desired. You know, I didn't want to be a single baby mama. I didn't want to be a woman out here chasing behind men, trying to make a man love you. You know, I didn't, those kind of things. And I made a choice to sever ties with females that were into this kind of behavior. And for me, I took some time out of my life at that time to say, I really and truly just want to work on me, like working on me. I want to have fun and I want to work on me, but I want to control what I can control, and I can't control them, but I can't control their environment, and where they are, but I can control me. I can control my atmosphere. And if that means not having them a part of my atmosphere, well, then I'm just going to choose that, because I'm going to choose me. And I'm going to choose me over them. And if that means I'm too prissy, if that means I'm too bougie, if that means whatever that means, okay, hey, it is what it is.
The overlying thing that gets me now, because I'm 40, right? We have this idea about black men, about the negative aspects of black men. And the reason I got to talk about this is because what we don't talk about is a lot of the negative things that we talk about with Black men are come during youth, preteen, teenage, maybe early to mid 20s, but that's about it. And the reason I say that is because if you the majority of Black men who come up in dysfunction try to grow out of it. Because of all of the things that may or may not happen to them, but happen to the people who surround them. They grow out of it. So when we're dealing in our society, people don't consider, all these Black men out here doing this, that, and the third. It's not like, even when Black men are old and homeless, they're not out here committing crimes like that. Even when Black men are poor, they're not out here doing crazy things. And the reason I had to bring it up is because we suffer the consequences of our actions, of other people's actions, of other people's thoughts. I remember that I listen to D.L. Hughley from time to time. I remember when he said, we can't, the worst place to be is in a white person's imagination. But that goes for everybody with us. So we're in everybody's imagination in a negative way at some point. And people don't realize it's not just the dysfunction of quote unquote us, it's the dysfunction of America, because we're just trying to get away from everybody's dysfunctional thoughts.
Right.
But now it's one of those situations where you're looking at it like when we're interacting with our own people and our own women, they have dysfunctional thoughts about us. What you gonna do next? Do I have a hit? You don't have to be a felon to be treated like a felon. You don't have to be a rapist to be treated like a rapist. You don't have to be a drug dealer to be treated like a drug dealer. I remember when I was younger, I remember almost beating up a guy in a parking lot, because this happened numerous times. Where and for all Black men probably in here, y'all know what I'm talking about. You go somewhere, like I go to the grocery store and a car pull up, and you got that smoke. What the hell do I look like dealing drugs outside of the grocery store, for one? And for two, why the hell you rolling up on me just out of the blue like I'm your pusher? Or you go somewhere and it used to, people used to come up in pickup trucks. You want to buy a stereo system or a TV? Like, what kind of, do I look like I'm just buying stereos and TV off of people in pickup truck? Like, what the hell are you doing right now? The police thing type of things where, hey man, come over here, let me talk to you for a minute. No. Look, he said you was at your piece. No, I wasn't. But these ideas that we're inherently into the underworld. You get what I'm saying? Like, and ironically, when we say no, people get, I would say no, people get insulted. When somebody would say something like that to me, I'd be like, I'm gonna knock your ass out. Ask me the question again. Then they get offended, like, what did I say that was so wrong? You just approached me like I was a drug dealer. What are you talking about?
Facts.
Like, most people don't think, like, as a Black man, and I'm gonna say this right now. What's very interesting is, even when I get pulled over by cops, even if they're Black cops, and Black cops have a little bit more decorum with this. Black cops will put their hand on a gun, but don't necessarily pull it out. But they'll talk to you. But other cops, I remember, I work in a field where you have a uniform, right? And I remember a cop in a uniform on a motorcycle trying to shoot me in my car on the way to work. Shot you. You just asked me for my driver's license. So you didn't, it's not a mistake that you almost shot me, dog. You meant to do it. And the reason I say that is because if people are just like those police officers, that inherent fear. And the reason why the guy was fearful is because he was, how can I say this, morbidly obese, and he didn't want no problems, but he wanted to be a bully. This is the problematic part. You got it.
Well, man, I think what is one of the things that has happened with social media is it highlighted a lot of the dysfunction to where everything that is dysfunctional, along with reality TV, which in my opinion is programmed, and along with seeing images and videos about how people are supposedly living, programming in my mind, that people automatically associate themselves and insert themselves into this look of normalized dysfunction that where and the overwhelming amount of this normalized dysfunction to where you can't help but presume that everyone you come in contact with and of the opposite sex, especially if I'm speaking from an opposite sex angle because I am a heterosexual woman. So let me get that out the air. That's what I can speak on and about because I am a heterosexual woman and obviously L.A.R is a heterosexual man.
Hold on. Let me. If I'm not mistaken, Rainin woman, you in H-Town.
I am.
Now, I've said this a million times over the years. Am I lying when I said there are a lot of quote unquote lipstick lesbians, bisexual women, or just open lesbians in this city?
No, you're not lying at all.
Now, the reason I got to bring that up is because people like this. It's not, I know that's increasing everywhere, but the reason I bring that up is because sometimes if you sit down and you talk to people, and if you talk to people who they call it the lifestyle, you'll notice that these people don't get along with anybody. But when they deal with men, it's exacerbated because men are this, that, and the third. And then when these women try to emulate men, and especially when they try to emulate black men, all they emulate is negative qualities.
Yes, facts.
So for me, it's like you're buying into the stereotype that the black man is Satan, because when you want to quote unquote pretend to be a black man, you want to be abusive and be a cheater. You want to be a thug, and it's like, okay, these women aren't trying to emulate black men as being family men, so that's part of the stigma. And the reason I bring that into play is because when you got women emulating the negative aspects of black men, when you got women attracted to the negative aspects of black men, the positive family man is not the person that, when people say they want love and family and kids and this, that's not the person that you want to be with. Because most men in general know marriage and family is an obligation that will get tedious and boring at times. It's not going to be entertaining all the time. It's probably going to be fun from time to time, but it's not going to be rosy. It's a process. And these guys aren't willing to process with people who want to be entertained.
Facts, man. All day facts.
And don't get it twisted. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
But I do believe that what social media has done by highlighting all of this is put people on their guards to where people no longer want to give anyone the benefit of the doubt, but they want the benefit of the doubt. So it goes back into that. Because everybody's like this with their projection, then I've got to get him before he gets me, or I've got to get her before she gets me, and that doesn't help. So you have people entering these situationships, because that's obviously what it becomes, right? Entering these situationships, trying to make, based off of distrust, based off of lack of respect, terrible combinations, along with anxiety and paranoia, always on your toes and are just already coming in like you got to feel like I spy, and already on guard about being cheated on or being abused, and you're not gonna take this, I ain't gonna take that, I ain't gonna take that. I'm trying to use my deep man voice, so when I get a little bass, that's me trying to sound like a man.
Give me 1 second. First and foremost, I gotta say, what's up, George? I know he married. Salute to you and your marriage, but you are still the backup singer in the Temptations. I'm always the lead. You'll never be the lead. You might as well go Bobby Brown. Now, but part of the like it's for me it's interesting and it's also fun, right? Because my dad told me this years ago. My dad's big. Like he was. My dad is about the size of an NFL defensive tackle. Okay, and my dad could make good decisions and bad decisions. But one of the things he told me was, he said, sometimes the angry black man or the big scary black man is a good stereotype because sometimes you could use it to your advantage. If I want to hurry up and get out of a place, I could be the angry black man and they're going to rush me up out of there because they don't want to deal with me. They can't get the cops here. Because my dad used to work as a CEO, right? So he knew the process, right? So he said, but the interesting thing about that, and what's up, Topaz? The interesting thing about that is when you become the stereotype, people give you more respect than if you are righteous. And we talk about people like Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, but we don't respect those guys as much as people that we would say have dirt on them. That's those guys are too quote unquote perfect. You get what I'm saying? Frank Lucas got a movie before Fred Hampton. And ironically, the brother that's playing Fred Hampton says he don't want to talk about race no more. Unfortunately, if I ever see him, I might slap the taste out of his mouth because I actually grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same high school as Fred Hampton. I don't want to hear that personally. But this is one of the aspects of us as black men, is where I don't want you to love me when I'm dead. And people, and when you were talking about people getting the benefit of the doubt, this is what I mean. If you're talented in a black man, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt because people are going to use your talent. But if people don't view you as talented, even if you are talented, you won't have the same leeway in society as everybody else. Because even on YouTube, I've watched people make horrendous decisions, not on their channels or whatever, but I've seen people videos of people try to run people over, try to break in people's homes, try to fight people in public, and cause a fight while people were trying to take care of their kids. You get what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff. And when it's towards black men, it's not really looked at as a criminal act. It's always this looming, what did he do to you? What did he do to her? It's like, okay. My apologies. I'm done.
No, you're fine. That's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, the quote-unquote bad guy gets respected for being the bad guy, but at the same time, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt when he's not the bad guy. And he doesn't get the respect that a man should give just off being a man. And then the men who are of better character, better quality as far as their decision making and whatnot, and not being into trouble, not being a troublemaker, not being a thug, not being a hoodlum is the words I'm looking for, right? These are the men, unfortunately, once again, that we look to be the mentors in the community and around us, but they're not the men that we give the same respect to and around when we see them in public, like at a grocery store, um, in a restaurant, gas station, at an event, or whatever. And that's a very, very unfortunate thing, because these are also the same men that we would, as women, that we would expect to give us this random protection in the event we should find ourselves in a uncomfortable or dangerous situation in public.
This is because I'm gonna talk about this on another one about the good Mr. Nice Guy versus the bad boy. But this is the aspect of it that I want to ask, because as far as stereotype is concerned, when women talk about guys who are abusive, it seems like they stay with those guys longer than when they talk about guys who are boring. So if you're boring or lame, the relationship is going to end fast. But if you're abusive, she might be with you for years. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And that's an unfortunate thing. So let's talk about that dysfunction. Um, a lot of times it got started with some dysfunction. There may have been some deception, because it's not, I don't think that it's too often that a man will say to a female that I am an abuser. Hi, my name is Ray, and I am a physical abuser. Okay, that's who I am.
Right.
And the woman goes, "Hey, I've been waiting for you all my life. Where were you 5 years ago?" But the infatuation of a relationship, that whole, shall we say, newlywed phase, is what females sometimes get locked into. And a lot of times they can't even hear anyone else saying, "Hey, you need to get out of that situation." And it's a lot, sometimes it's easier to, and let me say this, I'm not making excuses with any of this either, because none of this is okay. But at the same time, when the female does wake up and she does see it for what it is, and she's willing to stay, or she's willing to leave and go back to it, because I have seen this happen. I've seen women leave abusive situations and get over to a straight guy, and sometimes the straight guy has been right under her eyes all along, and then leave that situation and go right back to the abuse. And unfortunately, one of the key factors from what I've seen this being is, it may be abusive, and it may be dysfunctional, but guess what it also isn't? It's not boring.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I'm gonna take this somewhere. We say women are attracted to power, right? And I think when it comes to this idea of power, I think men look at it like, just the power that you're attracted to does not have to have ethics. It's just as long as it's considered power. And that's what I mean, black women is God and black man is Satan trope, is because Satan has power. But if you're attracted to power, you don't care that you with Satan. So this idea that, but if you always looked at yourself as angelic or God-like, or goddess rather, you know what I'm saying? You can always you can be attached to the power, but be separated to to the unethical nature of the person.
Right. Yeah. Until it's you, until it's against you, right? And that goes back to saying also that there is a complete delusion and misperception that a man's willingness or ability to protect you is based upon the image, the look of him, or his ability to just be a thug or a hood rat or someone that's always into trouble. And that's just the delusion. Because there are lots of men who are able to protect themselves and protect a woman with self-defense. They're just not out here trying to get in situations intentional. They're just not here. They didn't join the gang or whatnot. And then also say that there's a man who's never been in a fight, right? And you do have some. You do have men that have never been in a fight, right? But just because he's never been in a fight doesn't mean he should be looked upon as someone who cannot, quote unquote, protect you. Because I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm gonna add something to that when you're done.
Because you can always encourage a man to take lessons, MMA lessons, go to the gun range. There's ways to encourage men to help build them up, which as women, we should always be building up those around us. So you don't want to just look at what he don't have or what he can't do versus being able to encourage him on what he can do.
Now, I'm going to talk about this protection from a male point of view for women. If your man in the past has played football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxed, was in the military, some type of karate, that's the type of guy, depending on what position in each sport, he can protect you, even if he's never been in a fight, because he knows he knows certain tactics and skills that can help you, that can help him in as far as self-defense.
Right.
They may be unorthodox to you because you won't see that, but he doesn't want to put himself in that, because if you've ever been, for most men who know this, who've done these things, been in combat and that hand-to-hand combat, whatever, or actual combat, they know this for a fact that there's two things that's going to go on. You don't want to constantly be getting into it, because if you constantly getting into it, you're going to wind up running into somebody that might break you. If few men are able to press on when you can be broken. Now, the other thing is, men know that certain type of men aren't really about that life like they say they are. But women don't get that, because what winds up happening is, that's why I was making fun of, I saw a Gucci Man video when he was trying to throw a football. He has no coordination. He could throw a chick out of a car, but he can't throw a football. That's very interesting. He could punch a chick on the stage, but he can't throw a football. That's very interesting. And you see people like Quavo, he throws a football, he's skinny, but he wanted to be a gangster, but he only 105 pounds. He's only going to mess with people who he feels like he can get an edge on. Like I remember back in the day when they had T.I. and Floyd Mayweather was about to get into a fight. T.I. knew good and hell well if he got into a fight with Floyd, he was going to get his teeth knocked out. But he knew it was bodyguards there. People look at it the other way. These guys, y'all look at, some of these women look at guys who can be quote unquote street and own guns as those guys that can protect you. Those are the actual guys who will leave you in the shootout. Those are not the guys who will protect you. Like people forget, most of these guys who are gangsters, or quote unquote gangsters, nowadays, the vast majority of them can't fight. The vast majority of them. Not a small percentage, the majority. The vast majority of these guys that have guns can't shoot. And the reason why I say this is because it's easy to shoot at a person if they don't have a gun. But when somebody else pull out a gun, it ain't that easy.
Facts.
You know, and BMT was in combat. He'll tell you, you know, people don't stand still in shootouts. You're moving targets, adrenaline rushing. You gotta aim. One slip up, even if a person didn't even aim right, can get you killed. One bullet. So this idea that people can protect women, certain people to protect women, is asinine to me as a man. You know, we ain't gonna put you on the spot, BMT. I know, but that's the thing. Like, women don't understand. Like, this is why men don't approach other men, no matter what size, because 5 pounds of pressure could get you knocked out.
Right.
He's big and you're small. If you hit him on the jaw, he's gonna go down regardless. 9 times out of 10, if you just hit him right, he's going down. Women don't get that aspect of, guys do not want those problems everywhere they go. You know, we look past. Yeah.
A woman, in my opinion, a woman can't love or respect a man, her men. And I say men, I mean, you know, the men in her family, not her many lovers. I mean, like, the men in her family, her man. She can't have any love or respect for him if she wants him to always put himself in these kind of positions, put himself at risk. For me as a woman, I need you, number one, I need you home, and I need you free. I need you home more than I need you at work, and I need you free more than I need you locked up. So it is my duty to help keep you both of those ways. If I want to have you at home more than at work, but then I need to be able to live a lifestyle that's not having you to feel like you need to work 80 hours or 120 hours a week just so that we can have a big house and a big fancy car or whatever, things that are not assets. It's up to me to do what I can do to make sure that you have a peace of mind and peace of spirit and a clear head to be able to always use your cognitive thinking skills so that you are not out here in this world fighting everything and everybody, and at the same time having to fight for me and my recklessness at the same time.
That's 2 things I'm gonna say about that. One, women have this bad understanding about wanting to be protected. You want to be protected physically, but you really need to be protected financially. Because being protected physically is not a lifestyle you want to live.
Right.
But being protected financially is actually a lifestyle you want to live. But the other thing, like I talked to some of my female friends back in the day, even, you know, pertaining to this topic. Some of these modern day ladies have a tendency to put themselves in situations with men who are unscrupulous, and they know it. With this aspect, if I'm going to put myself in harm's way, but he's a nice guy. And it's always funny to me because if they meet a nice guy, he's too nice. But if you meet a guy who you met doing some things that are just not right, you're going to put yourself in his space and still say he's nice. You meet a street guy, but you're going to go get drunk with him, go get high with him, and go home with him at 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, but he's nice. He ain't going to do nothing. Not saying the guy doesn't.
That's a delusion. That is a delusion. And once again, that is a reflection of herself that she does not want to acknowledge as a reflection of herself. And she doesn't want to acknowledge it as not being good behavior within herself.
That's part of the issue. Because I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine. I gave an ice pick. I was like, if you ever get caught in a situation, you have to do this, and this. And the reason I'm saying this is because the majority of the women that I knew who would be out in the nightlife in general, whether it's meeting people online and pulling up at early in the morning or late at night, or going to the clubs or going to restaurants and being at bars, the vast majority of them didn't want to protect themselves. Let me get drunk and fall asleep in the car. Let me go to the bar, get sloppy drunk, and just hope this guy takes me home. Even now that you have Uber, they still do this. You're going to need a knife. You're going to need a gun. No, I'm not. You're going to need a taser. No, I'm not. I'm going to just go get high with these people. That something can happen to you. No, it's not going to happen to me. And it's like, and the reason I'm saying this is because when they say these guys ain't no good or they ain't ish, how at the same time you gonna go out in these bad situations with these guys that you and your girlfriend say are no good and ain't ish, and say nothing's gonna happen to you?
BS. Man, that's that BS, and that's also a syndrome of people not thinking that anything bad can happen to them. That's that sense of invincibility. It can happen to anyone but
me. I remember, okay, they used to have, I don't even know if it's still in existence. Like the downtown area, they have those nightclubs, right? And I remember this sister, she was walking, I forgot the street. You know what the train is, because they used to have clubs along that sidewalk. I ain't been there in a while, so but I remember the sister coming to this club because me and my homeboys, it was a Currency concert. We went to see Currency. So she's walking down the street and she has on some boy shorts and like a halter top that's like a sports bra. It's some high heels. And the people are looking at her as she's coming up. And she's like, why y'all looking at me? And the bouncer looked at her like, you came out dressed like that. This is why everybody looking at you. Don't act like you didn't come out here for attention in the first place.
right.
And then she got offended at first, and then she couldn't say anything. And I was thinking about it because I used to live off of Westheimer. And yeah, like in the 2000s, I lived off of Westheimer when they had Max's and Maxwell's, all them doggone clubs, like between the Galleria and Gessner. All used to be over there. Sam's Boat on Rich, all that. The Sky Bar before it became Prospect Park. And I remember it's a particular club on Richmond that's closed now, but they had a club next to the club. And this girl got out of the car, and this was the first time I didn't know they had a alternative lifestyle club per se. It was right next to the club, though. It was like right in front of it. And the girl got out with a lingerie set on, but she was going to an all-girls club. But it was a club behind it. Matter of fact, it was by Richmond near Gessner, where that Popeyes was at. And I remember the same thing going on with her. And the reason I'm saying this is because over the years, I realized women like hanging out with other women, and they think because we're not around the black men, we could do whatever because they're evil. So I can go around half naked, butt naked, be extra sexual, be extra mean, because people forgot in those environments, the women are getting into a lot of fights, from cussing at each other, throwing stuff at people, kicking people's cars, that type of stuff.
Right.
And OST and 288, look at it. And I remember this, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't think people realized at the time, and I don't think it took a while, that when you view the men as evil all the time, you don't see your quote unquote self in the mirror when you go out in public and you cussing people out, when you go out in public and you're just overly sexual, when you go out in public and you're fighting people, when you go out in public and you're creating situations with guys and girls, when you go out in public and it's a lot of reckless driving out here. That's mostly the guys. It's not the women. But, you know, when you go out and you create situations and then you want somebody to step in for you. And if he doesn't step in, he ain't shit. And it's like, he was never the bad person in the begin with. It was you. BMT said something. But, Rainy Woman, you know, we've been in on for a minute. You got anything to say? Because I'm about to go cook.
Man, you have said, you know, like I said before, I'm with you when you're right. And unfortunately, once again, there are all females like that. And it can't be wicked for a man and not be wicked for a woman. If it's wicked, it's just wicked. And so my message again to the men is, if you're around a female or interested in a female or involved with a female and she's always in chaos, she's always in chaos. There's always a situation that you have to get her out of. That's not a female that you really want to try to continue to build with or last with, because it won't be well for you. A woman that really cares, respects you, and cares for you is not going to put you in danger intentionally, and she's not going to put herself in potential danger as well intentionally. So if you haven't already, and the first time here, please like, share, and subscribe to the L.A.R Movement channel. And L.A.R, thank you so much, fam, for having me up here. I really appreciate it. Great talk. Keep doing what you're doing, and have a good night and happy cooking.
All right. Thank you for coming. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I'll catch y'all later. I'm hungry. Peace. This thing is not going to cut off. Okay, they hating on me right now. Okay. My end broadcast is BSing on me. There we go. Peace now. Okay, there we go.